Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod, and we are already being joined via Skype by our wonderful friend and expert, Vince Redmond. Vince, for those of you who don't know, he's a regular here on the show. He is a licensed marriage and family therapist who was a behavioral therapist for many years before he became an LMFT. So he has a wealth of knowledge about what an ABA intervention is like, what the goals are, and what it can do emotionally for a family, what the pitfalls are, and thus all the things that can be done to help make that so that it's not an extra issue. So Vince, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Vince.
Good morning. How are you, ladies?
We're good.
We're good and better because you're here.
Yeah.
So that's a fabulous thing. So Vince, we were talking with you this morning about what we were going to talk about, and you brought up that it is that time of year when it's time to make the transition back to school.
Which is hard to believe.
Right? Both of us were like, what?
It seems like summer just started, right?
Right. It was just 4th of July. What do you mean the transition back to school? Both of us had like a reaction. But it really is time, as you were saying. And so talk to us a little bit about why now is the time and what kinds of things that we should be thinking about.
Well, for a couple of reasons, right? A lot of schools actually now start early August, and we want to give our kids and families enough time to prepare for school as it comes up, right? We don't want it to just be sprung on them at the last minute, and it just start, hey, you're going to go to school next week. That's oftentimes creates anxiety, creates panic in the kids because their routines are changing, and they're going to go back to school with new people and new teachers and sometimes even a new environment. And we want to prepare the kids for that transition, right? Every kid's different, every kid's transitional needs might be different, but we want to make sure that there's plenty of discussion, maybe even observation, maybe a trip to the school that might be needed to help our kids' anxiety as we prepare them for the next coming year. As we were discussing earlier, right, a lot of school districts now are actually starting in early August, which is absolutely crazy for us, but it's right around the corner. They're 3 weeks away now.
Yeah.
Right. So how long in advance do you recommend sort of priming our kids before they go back?
Again, I think individualized, it changes per child, but I would recommend, a minimum of 2 weeks to let them know and start preparing them and talking about it each day, getting them prepared, buying the new clothes and the school supplies. And like I said, maybe a trip to school to just kind of get them comfortable with the campus again and what's going to happen, right? Giving them plenty of notice and discussion. I can't emphasize that enough. We want to discuss with them, have conversations with them, let them know that it's happening, and when it's happening, maybe even having a visual model, having a calendar with the school date circled so that they can visually see that when school is going to start again. Most children don't know. I mean, this goes from your kindergartners up to your high schoolers, don't actually know the date they're going to start. They kind of rely on the adults to prompt them for that. So giving them that knowledge, giving them that forewarning, giving them that time to prepare, and then giving them opportunities to ask questions about it, or even just to process it internally is extremely important.
Okay.
And, I always think back to, because my graduate program, Patrick Stewart, you know who that is? He's the British actor that played Jean-Luc Picard on Star Trek, and he's on the X-Men, whatever. He came to do a workshop with the acting students there, and he was teaching us, and he said to somebody, what's your preparation for doing what you're doing? And they started talking about it, and he said, I'm going to stop you. And he said, because there's two types of preparation, and there's preparation where you really get yourself prepared so you're ready, and then there's preparation when you shoot yourself in the foot. And I always think about that because when I'm doing something, I'm like, am I actually preparing myself or am I messing myself up? And I think about that with the school year too, because I told you I like to do all the things like get the notebooks and all of that stuff, because for me that's the thing. But that really isn't what prepares Jem for his school year, and I think it's not what prepares the kids. But we have to think of our anxiety too. But Vince, one of the things I like to do is talk up the next grade. And I do this with everybody's kids. So when I talk to a little kid and I say, so what grade are you in now? And they go, well, I'm in first grade, but I'll be in second grade in the fall. And I always say the same thing. Oh, second grade was my favorite. Second grade's the best. It's so much better than first grade. You're gonna love second grade. And I'll tell you why, because in second grade, you get to do this that you couldn't do in first. And it doesn't matter what grade they say. Whatever grade they say, I say, that's my favorite.
Right.
And I go, oh, it's so much better than the other one. Like I'm selling a car. You know what I mean? And because I think that talking it up is a big way to prepare them.
Right.
And for different kids, that means different things.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, visit the school and other things. But Vince, help us to know, like, what are some things that we, besides, visiting the school and talking it up, what are some other things that we can do individually for kids that might work to help them to actually be prepared? Like, are there programs that we want to put in their ABA program that will help them? So that we're not doing the prep where we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
I think the first thing is what you just touched on, keeping it positive, keeping it, you want anything to do to reduce their anxiety. So keeping it positive, this is going to be the best year, Mrs. Smith is the best teacher, you're going to have so much fun. Like really keeping it positive, right? Not the doom and gloom, we're going back to school, woe is me, right? We want this to be very positive. And then what we can do, like internally, like you were saying, if we wanted to program or put lessons in their program to help them prepare, right? We want to make sure that there's independent skills or adaptive living skills in the morning, getting up, getting dressed, getting breakfast, following a schedule in the morning. I think that is key, is them being able to follow, time schedules, right? We want to prepare them to get back into that routine. Some of that starts early. I encourage parents to start putting their kids to bed earlier, getting them up at the time that you typically would go to school, at least 2 weeks before school starts. Because if not, that morning, the first day of school, and they wake up at 6:30 a.m., it is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be really difficult. But if we give them time to prepare, we adjust their internal clocks, we adjust their abilities to follow schedules, and we give it 2, 3, 4 weeks of practice. Then when school starts, it's going to be much easier transition to school, and they're going to look forward to it.
So we start now, putting them to bed, telling them bedtime is 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier, or does it depend on the kid?
It depends on the kid, the age of the child, the functioning level of the child, the adaptive skills of the child. I think, each parent can appropriately, estimate what time their child should go to bed to get the plenty of hours of sleep to be able to get them up at the time they need to get up at school. Some kids get up at 6 a.m. to go to school. Some kids don't have to get up until 7 because they don't start until 8:30. Again, that's 100% up to the parent's time schedule. But we want to make sure that they're getting plenty of sleep, 8 to 10 hours a night. We want to make sure that we start gradually. I think what you were alluding to, Shannon, we want to start gradually getting them to bed earlier. You might not want to go from 10 o'clock to 8:30.
Right.
That might be too much of a gap that they're working to, but we start working backwards so that it's, instead of going to bed at 10, it's now 9:30, then next week it's 9, then the next week it's at 8:30, which is the time we want them to go to bed. But again, using your time frame and what you feel is appropriate for your child, I would definitely start getting them to bed a half an hour earlier each week leading up to the time, or the week of school, the time you want them to get up. Because if it's too much of a jump or too much of a change, you're going to have a really sleepy child come the day school starts, and that's going to be difficult not only for the child but for you as the parents.
I openly admit I suck at this.
You let Jim stay up late.
Well, because I really have executive function issues with going to bed myself.
Right.
I get too tired to go to bed.
Right.
And I will stay up. And I'm somebody who suffered from insomnia for a lot of years. Now, I don't have insomnia. I could fall asleep anywhere because I'm so overtired because I don't get enough sleep. But to get myself to bed is a project and a half and is often way too late. So to get my child to go to bed earlier is really hard for me. But you're really good at this.
I'm pretty good at it, I mean, we have a visual schedule of what Wyatt does it in the nighttime. We have a daytime schedule over the summer and a nighttime visual schedule. So it has eat dinner, 6:30, play Wii, 7 o'clock.
Right.
Paint, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Brush teeth and get ready for bed, 9 o'clock. So he also has a timer for certain activities. So the timer for the Wii, the timer for the painting. So that's the only way we can do it, because if I rely on winging it, forget it.
Yeah, well, I'm never saying that it's good what I do, because it ends up with me being at work tired because I didn't get enough sleep, and we have crabby mornings because nobody's had enough sleep. I'm just saying I suck at this.
Okay.
I fully recognize, it's that thing, and I think this happens to all of us, right? That's the expert says, here's what you should do, and you go, yeah, that makes total sense. I'm going to institute that tonight. But if we don't have enough executive functions to say, what do I have to do in order to institute that, and what I would have to do, I just never get around to.
Right.
Because I would have to rearrange the afternoon, and I don't do that. But maybe I'll think about it that way now, and maybe I'll report back to you guys and be better.
Okay.
But that brings up, Vince, that there's the other part of this that, it's not just going back to school, and it's not just the supplies, and not just the emotions that the kiddos are having, but all the emotions that the parents have about, it's that. Now, some people are thrilled. They're like, yay, school's back in session, and they're thrilled. And other people go, oh, it's going to be the homework. Oh, it's going to be the treadmill. Because I always feel as soon as school starts that I am on somebody else's tether, running to a place that I don't even know where I'm going, and it does not feel good for me.
Right, it feels like a treadmill, right?
It really does, especially, it does in the fall up to a certain point until you get to like Halloween, and then it backs off. But then it starts again in the spring, and it's that way all the way to the last day, and I always am like, oh, we survived it again, you know? So what about the emotions, Vince? What do you have in your bag for us for that?
And going back to both topics, right? It's looking at what are our barriers that might get in the way of having a timely night schedule, or starting to prepare them for the school year, and then how do we prepare for the school year? Because, like you said, it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of anxiety for us. How's our kids going to do with the new teacher? Is the teacher going to be understanding of our child's individual needs? Are we going to have enough supports around the child to be able to properly maintain them at school, right? I mean, lots of different things that we have to look at and have to prepare for. So we need to do the same thing. We need to start working on this, start getting answers, start getting, even maybe some interventions or systems set up so that it makes it easier for us for when school starts. So, for example, I want to meet with the teacher the first week of school, so write down the things that you want to talk to them about, maybe the go-to list. What other anxieties do I have about school? What are some of the other barriers to, like you said, I'm too tired at night to follow a schedule to put them to bed. Okay, then maybe we do something similar to what Nancy's doing. A visual schedule will help not only the child, will also help me know what time I'm supposed to do what things. I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
There's a schedule that says 7 o'clock dinner time. Okay, 7 o'clock dinner time. 8 o'clock bedtime, or radio time, or time to read, or whatever it may be. So I think looking at our own barriers, what are the things that are preventing us from preparing the child for school, and what are the things that I need to do to prepare to school so that I can start. I mean, again, we're 3, 4, 5 weeks away. We want to start now. I think most of our families and most of us as adults are professional procrastinators, right? We're great about, that's 3 weeks from now. That's
yes.
But, as we know, 3 weeks creeps up on us really quick. So if we don't start writing things down and what we need to do to prepare, then it's gonna come up on us really quick, and it's gonna overwhelm us.
I just got that little buzz of anxiety of like, oh, I'm so far behind. But my mind immediately, when I start to feel that, what's the paycheck in it for me? What's the paycheck in it for me if, you know, if I were to get this together and get to bed a little bit earlier. That's the thing I got to remind myself. Oh, I would feel better.
Right.
My kid would do better in school. I always got to, because, you know, it sounds like hopping on the treadmill.
Right.
But I love the fall. I do.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. And I don't have any reason to be anxious about school, but the beginning of the school year always feels
I
like
think a lot of us have anxiety about it. You know,
Yeah.
it's just the change and
We're conditioned, right?
right.
It's been for every year since preschool, you know, to be anxious about them going into school, because that was where it really started. We didn't know how it was going to go and what the sports were there, were people going to be good, or the kids going to be nice. And every year there's a different level of that goes on. Even when we get to points where, like you're saying, well, maybe I don't need to be anxious anymore. This has been ongoing in the last 4 years. You know, the kids have transitioned great. There hasn't been any problem. But I think inside of us, we've been so conditioned early on with our kids and our protective instincts of our kids that it is not going to go away. I mean, I think it's always going to be there, which is a good thing. We just need to be able to be aware of it, be accepting of it, and being able to manage it.
Right.
Well, and we both have new things this year in terms of Wyatt's going to be a senior.
Wyatt's going to be a senior, and there's a lot. Now, he has to go and get a senior portrait before school starts, so that's going to be, you know, I'll prep him for that, and that'll probably get him ready.
But there's going to be a whole bunch of things this year that'll be the first of a bunch of things and the end of a bunch of things.
Right.
And I would think that would be anxiety provoking for you.
It is
I'm flipping out because Jem's going to be a junior.
Right.
And somebody was saying something about 2 years, about, hey, let's do this in 2 years. And I was like, well, in 2 years, Jem's going to be getting ready to go to college.
Right.
And freaking me, I'm just like, wow, where did it all go?
Right.
It's just time has passed really quickly. But there's a lot of stuff that's new this year. Because,
Yes.
like you were saying, we have to go get pictures.
Right.
The senior pictures, and it has to be on this day. And it's both wonderful, but it's uncharted territory.
Right, right.
But you seem to be handling it really well, Missy.
No, not really. I have a lot of anxiety about it. I'm just a good faker.
Faking it till she makes it. And he'll be wonderful. It's all good. And now, Vince, am I correct that you have all of your girls have graduated now, right?
Yes, my youngest graduated high school at the end of spring. So
wow, congratulations!
I'm officially 2 college students starting this fall.
Well, that's its own little heart attack, right?
Yeah.
It's its own heart attack. It's its own. You know, my wife and I always joke around now. You know, we're done raising children. Now we have to raise 2 young adults, and you know, fortunately they're both going to the same college. You know,
oh, that's cool.
She's been there for 3 years, so she's already an expert. And now Haley's going to start, so they have each other to kind of depend on now.
Well,
so
that's good.
That's nice.
That works well, and you go to the same place when you want to visit.
Right.
That's fabulous. Wonderful. Well, congratulations on that. It is an accomplishment. It is such an accomplishment to have. I watched just a couple weeks ago as everybody was posting all their kids' graduation, videos and stuff, and I was like, that is an accomplishment. When your kid graduates, and when you've completed high school, that's an accomplishment,
right?
Because the hours that we have all put in,
yeah.
I think that's part of the anxiety too. Okay, so anything else, Vince, off the top of our heads that we can think of to help parents with the stress from getting this show on the road here in the next couple of weeks?
Talk about it. The big thing is talk about it. Talk about it with the supervisor. Parents should talk about it with each other. Remember, your ABA team, either be from CARD or any agency, you guys are a unit and you guys are there to support one another. So talk about it now. If there's something that needs to be programmed in an ABA lesson, that we can or they can start working on that now.
Yeah.
But we can also start preparing the parents on how to work through some of their barriers if those come up.
Spectacular.
Okay. Very good
Vince,
suggestions.
thank you so much for being with us always. And where can people reach you if they have other questions for you, Vince?
If you have any questions, you can reach me at b.redmond, Redmond, my last name, at centerforautism.com.
There we go.
Okay,
Vince,
thank you,
we
Vince.
just adore you, and we always appreciate when you have a chance to share with us your wisdom.
Right. Thanks for helping us make this transition easier. Okay, thank you, Vince.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.